Okay, so we're just fresh out of the theater. We watched Longlegs. We're here. Let's discuss it because there's a ton to discuss here. So I think this first video that I'm going to do is just going to be going over the plot real quick and also the ending. I do want to make a video with the symbolism and stuff like that. This is a film where you really had to keep up with a lot of the marketing, I feel, to really understand what's going on, because we've been covering this for the past month, the Birthday Murders website and the marketing and all of that and the ciphers. I was like watching the movie and I was like, wait, I remember that from, and things like that. But before we get into all of this, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. We got a ton of Longlegs videos coming out all weekend long. Do not miss out on them. We've already covered the Birthday Murders website and there's an update on Monday. So make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell. Let's get to 35K. Let's get right into what just happened in this movie. We start the movie off with a young Lee Harker, who is, of course, the character Maika Monroe plays when they're older. But we see them when they're a young child and they see this white car pull up to their house. Out of there comes a pale white man stalking this girl. And then ultimately the girl sees him and then he just like comes into full frame into the camera and then it cuts to Longlegs, you know. Very scary scene, one of the scariest of the year in my opinion. We see the little girl now is grown up and of course being played by Maika Monroe. They're an FBI agent and they're about to start one of the very first manhunts. During this manhunt, she goes with a partner to try and find this serial killer. At first I thought, oh man, we're getting right into it with Longlegs, right? But no, it's another serial killer. She gets an intuition about a house and her agent partner goes up to the house and then he's just immediately shot dead, but she is able to apprehend the suspect. This gets the attention of the FBI, who puts her through these tests, and these tests are to prove that she has like intuition and psychic abilities of sorts, and she does pass with flying colors. So the top agent Carter tells her, hey, you know what, let's get you on this case of the Longlegs killer. He's come back, he's been doing these murders for decades now, and I think someone like you could be great help. Harker gets on the case and she immediately just starts off running on it. She is able to very much so go in, check everything that's going on with the previous cases. She learns about the ciphers that Longlegs uses because he uses this Zodiac type style in order to leave a calling card. And the basic thing about Longlegs is that there's families with young girls. They're all young girls always. There's a mom, there's a dad, and what happens is the dad ends up killing the child and the mother and then ends up killing themselves by the end of it. And so Longlegs doesn't get into these crimes himself. He doesn't commit them. He makes them commit them and then he leaves his calling cards and whatnot. So that's why the FBI has not been able to track them down, because there's nothing to really track to. So Harker, as she is trying to decipher the case and all of that, gets a visit from Longlegs and he leaves her a birthday card. It's almost her birthday, by the way. And what we learn is that Longlegs is targeting girls who have their birthday on the 14th. And on the 14th, they don't get killed. They get killed either 6 days prior or 6 days after. Of course, the number 666 is present throughout here. And we learn that Harker sees that there is a case involving the Camera family where the father killed the mother, himself, and also a preacher, but didn't kill the daughter. The daughter was the only one left alive. And so they decide to pay a visit to the Camera farm as well as the daughter, Carrie Ann, who was played by Kiernan Shipka. So when we see them go to the farm, they find a place that X marks the spot. This was one of the ciphers that Longlegs had left behind. Nobody could solve it until Maika Monroe's character of Lee Harker was able to crack the cipher open after Longlegs left her some clues here and there. And we see that when they go to X marks the spot in the barn, that they find a doll in this suitcase and they pull out the doll. Inside the doll is a silver orb, and we see that the doll has real human hair and all of that as well. They don't know what's inside the silver orb, but when they put something close to it to check on it, what it is, it makes this weird noise, and that sort of triggers something as well in Harker's mind also. And the guy who was like the forensics looking into it says that it made him kind of hear whispers and hear his wife of sorts as well. So he doesn't know what that's all about. So what we find out next is that Carrie Ann Camera has already been visited by the time Harker and Carter go up to visit her at the ward. And she basically says that the man that came to visit her is somebody they never want to forget. That's somebody that she just feels is the person they'll do whatever they want her to do. And we even hear her say that she would even kill Harker if that man asked her to. We also learned about the fact that she felt that she was in a dark and secluded place and that she couldn't come out of it, and that it was neither here or there, almost like limbo, because apparently we hear from the ward that she was like in a catatonic state where she wasn't talking, moving, or even blinking or anything like that. She was just still. But it seems that once that doll was removed out of the suitcase by Harker and Carter, that sort of brought her back to life. We then see that Lee, when she puts all of the dates on paper and she starts to see a pattern form with them, it's this upside down triangle, which is a rune that's in the 9 Circles of Hell book that she's reading. So we see that Longlegs is very satanic, and they have a method to what they want to do because they want to please, as they say, the man downstairs. Her then confronts Lee about her mother and what exactly Lee is hiding after the whole Carrie Ann situation, because Longlegs had come into the ward and signed in as Lee Harker. And so Carter's wondering, how does Longlegs know who you are? And we find out that Longlegs, of course, was the one that visited Lee Harker at the beginning of the film, but she wants to bring in her mother for help on this to sort of give a appearance of the man so that they may be able to track him down. But the mother says that she is not, and that she can look through her stuff and find that out herself, which Lee actually does have a picture of Longlegs she took. And that is definitely what brings this whole case together, is now they're able to hunt this man down and get him, which they are able to do. Longlegs was trying to escape through the bus, and he just like completely stopped. And we do get a good glimpse finally on Nicolas Cage here. We do see him briefly when he goes into a store to buy some supplies, but we rarely get the full glimpse here, and it is just a distorted look. It looks like they have a lot of like glam makeup, which they are into glam rock. As we see, they have T-Rex, Lou Reed in their little basement where they make the dolls, and we see that they give up no fight. They're like, all right, you got me. And then we see that he is just saying happy birthday to Lee during the interrogation that he has with one of the agents, and this causes Lee to think, you know what, I need to go into the interrogation myself because I still think this guy has somebody else working for him, and I want to find out who that is. When they go to confront Longlegs about this, they give them vague answers about being in the church and things like that. They also talk about Revelations 13:1, which is something that Lee has recited as well, about the beast with the multiple heads and the 10 crowns with the blasphemous name. And then he says to ask your mother before he says "Hail Satan," and he smashes his head onto the table and kills himself pretty much. This causes Lee to go into a daze, but she knows she has to go confront her mother about what is he talking about and if she can come in for questioning, and she goes with her colleague. When Lee goes into the house, however, her mother is nowhere to be found, and we soon then see her mother is about to kill her colleague with a shotgun, which she does, and then Lee just witnesses all of this from her mother's home. When she goes to confront the mother about what she's done, we see that she has a doll in the replica of Lee, and she shoots this doll with the shotgun as well. We then see that this is where Lee just completely shuts down, and then we notice that Lee is now in a basement. But we do get a backstory about what exactly happened here, because we see as Lee's mother, Ruth, talked to a young Lee Harker that nothing's going to happen to her because her mom's going to protect her from that man. Lee was targeted by Longlegs, but Ruth said to Longlegs, "Spare her and I will do your bidding, but please do not take my daughter." And we soon learned that Longlegs was using Ruth in order to bring the dolls to the young girls, because at first Longlegs was the one who was trying to do all of this with Lee herself, and it didn't really work, right? Families wouldn't trust a weird guy like Longlegs to bring a doll for their daughter. What they devised was a plan where Lee's mother would be the one to bring them and say they were a gift from the church, and of course all of the families just took it because she was dressed like a nun and all of that. And we saw that she would just stay there until the murders happened, and this is what kept Lee safe. Now, Lee's doll was still made because Longlegs came to deliver it because he wanted to take Lee, but it turns out that it was still there being used as a way to sort of subdue Lee, but this sort of gave her a psychic connection of sorts to Longlegs still. And we see that the basement that she is in, which is her mother's basement, is where Longlegs was doing all of the dolls and was living basically. He really was, for Lee, the man downstairs. And it's kind of creepy to think that all of this was happening under Lee's nose, basically. All of these years that Longlegs was down there doing all of this, and even today still. The time when Lee went to her mother's home, Longlegs was probably down there. And I think that makes it so much eerie to think about while you're watching it a second time. Ultimately, Lee is waken up and she realizes that it is about to be Ruby's birthday, Carter's daughter. So she makes her way to Carter's home to try and see what's going on. And then she realizes her mother is already there and the doll is there as well. When she tries to tell Carter about this, it seems it's too late, as he is already in a trance with his wife, and the daughter and the mother of Lee is just like it's over. Just let it happen. I need this to keep happening. We then see as Carter takes his wife to kill her in the kitchen before coming out to try and kill his daughter Ruby. When Harker tells him to stop, he doesn't stop, so she just has to shoot him. The mother gets pissed off about this and tries to take matters into her own hands by killing Ruby herself with a dagger before we see that Harker shoots her mother, and that pretty much puts an end to it seems. And she decides she has to shoot the doll as well to get Ruby out of this trance, but she isn't able to do that, as we see that the doll is still there because Lee doesn't have any more bullets left in the chamber. We then cut to the Nicolas Cage character of Longlegs as he gives us one more Hail Satan before waving us goodbye. And that's pretty much where the movie ends. And what I think is so interesting about this is that a lot of the things that we see happening here, I think were very crucial if you were paying attention to the marketing, which I don't think you had to be doing that, honestly. I think that's more on the movie itself. But a lot of what Nicolas Cage's character here is doing is a lot from the 9 Circles of Hell, that he's trying to sort of be blasphemous and sort of make a mockery of God and Christianity. Specifically here, Catholics. These are all Catholics that were killed by Longlegs and Ruth. They were the 2 beasts that are mentioned in Revelations 13:1. The multiple heads, of course, being that there is always going to be evil that spawns from something else. And I think that 13:1 was Revelation, so 13 and 1 make 14. That's why they were targeting the girls on the 14th, their birthday. And I think that the 9 circles, of course, was the 9-year-olds. I don't know if there really is much more like deeper here. It's just something that I think he's just picked up. The question really here is, why was Longlegs doing all of these murders? And it seems that it was more because they were trying to do some satanic ritual. They were satanic. That's the biggest thing, right? They were always going to do this, but they needed help because they were like creepy looking and stuff like that, because they needed to get the dolls inside of the home. So that's why they had to get somebody like Ruth to do it. Of course, Ruth, to save her own daughter, decided to help Longlegs do all of these things. How exactly were they making these families commit these crimes though? And that's the question, right? That silver ball was containing an essence of Longlegs. So first and foremost, there is supernatural things going on here. I know we talked about it before that would they go the supernatural route? Would they go more like a real life thing where they're maybe drugging them or hypnotizing them? Yeah, there is a supernatural thing going on here because the mother of Lee talks about him putting an essence of himself in here. And we even see it when she shoots the doll and the essence comes out. And that is something I think that showcases that, yes, there is indeed something supernatural. We've seen the demon behind Lee when she was young, as well as showing up in multiple parts around the movie as well. This Baphomet looking as well. And it's also in a lot of the crime scene photos from the website that we're able to see. So I think that you do have to suspend belief here and say, yeah, there is something otherworldly happening. Now, the silver ball in itself, I think that could also represent like souls and things like that. And that's why it was what was being used. And it was sort of like whispers that we would hear when they were talking about the silver ball. So it could be Longlegs themselves inside of the doll whispering them to do these horrible acts. Now, the big thing is what happens at the very end. Why can't Lee shoot the doll and end this forever? And I think that all just goes back to what Longlegs said, that there will always be a piece of them here and there. And I think that Lee realizes that a piece of Longlegs will always be in her as well. She did see that traumatic thing happen, and now she has Ruby there with her as well. So even though they might get rid of the doll and all of that, it's still going to be within both of them because they saw all of these horrific things that just happened, and it was because of Longlegs. He has really tarnished this town, and not just Lee and also Ruby, but everybody else who has been affected by these murders. And we learn about Carrie Ann killing themselves as well by the end of the film. So I think Longlegs, even though he may be dead, even though these crimes have stopped, even though all of that has happened, the trauma is still there, and the trauma still continues to seep throughout. And I think that's what Longlegs said that was their end goal, but anyways, is to just make all of this and have them feel this sort of like pain, because that is what he wants. He wants to feed the devil this pain. He wants to give them these like atrocious crimes because it's evil, it's wicked, and that's exactly what Longlegs was wanting to do from the very beginning. But they weren't able really to do it because they needed somebody to be that sort of decoy of sorts, because what more blasphemous thing can he do than to make somebody go in as a nun to kill families in order to save their own family? And I don't know, Ruth was somebody who practiced the religion, who really believed in God and all of that, but I feel like they maybe lost their faith after seeing how Longlegs infiltrated their lives and immediately just made her go on this horrible, horrible run of violence. I think it was definitely one of those films that ends in a very, very wicked way. It really just is like, hey, this evil's here and it's not going anywhere. And I think it just showcases that the evil is that powerful, that Lee isn't able to really vanquish it all completely. Even though if she would have shot the doll, the evil, everything, the trauma was still going to stick, not just with her, but now with Ruby. And so it continues to spread its many heads as the beast, it says in Revelations 13:1. But we'll definitely get more into all of that. It is definitely tied with the golden bow as well, because it was one of the pages we read a couple of days ago about the pictures being taken and how that keeps the soul. And I believe that that means that Lee Harker kept a piece of the soul of Longlegs in that picture, and now it's with her all the time. And I think that's exactly what they were talking about in that page right there. That you can also see it that Lee was still sort of an accomplice to Longlegs, as they were the ones who brought Ruth and Longlegs closer to Agent Carter and his family and his daughter. And it could have been something that was maybe not something she wanted to do on purpose, but she was sort of being controlled still because her doll still had the silver orb. That was until her mother destroyed it, of course. And I think that just showcases that maybe Longlegs had been pulling the strings all along for Lee to eventually become this FBI agent that would ultimately hunt him down and maybe complete this ritual that he wanted to do. Because remember, Lee said that there was still a 13 missing and they weren't exactly sure what that was. And I believe those last kills that happened were definitely what Longlegs was intending to do. He wanted Lee to sort of continue on this sort of like ritual of sorts. But we'll talk more about that in the full explanation video. I still got to think about it more, got to write down stuff, especially considering things that I saw from the website and all of that. So stay tuned for that. But the ending in itself, Ruth was working with Longlegs in order to protect Lee. And the way they were doing this was by helping Longlegs bring these dolls that had these orbs that were making people kill because they were cursed. They had sort of this bad black magic inside of them. And you could say it was a piece of Longlegs himself. And he was sort of guiding the families to kill by getting in their heads, whispering, things like that. And that's exactly how he was able to accomplish this. It was all supernatural. But let me know what you thought about the film. Let me know what you thought about the ending. Did you enjoy it? Did you not? I do have a review coming out tomorrow. So if you want to know more of my thoughts on that, check that out tomorrow. And I also have a full video just breaking down everything in the film, all the symbolism, all of the ciphers and all of that. That might be coming out till Monday. I'm not too sure, but we will do a live for Longlegs tomorrow night, so stay tuned. I want to give more people a chance to watch it before we really start talking spoilers and things like that and our thoughts. So stay tuned. But as always, make sure you subscribe, like, comment, share, all that good stuff. 35,000 subscribers is the goal. I'll see you all next time. Stay safe, stay positive.